Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7, and I'm back with some videos, some races from the previous week we've just had at Le Mans in Group 4 with dynamic weather, a first for Gran Turismo 7 in a daily race. We've had it in the GT World Series, but we've never experienced it in daily races, and I have to say, this week did not disappoint. Possibly the greatest experience I've had on Gran Turismo 7. Now, if you do enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're currently getting very close to 54,000 subscribers. It would be amazing if we could push through that. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought about this week, because I thought they got the ratio absolutely perfect with the dry races to wet races of amount, because the majority of races that we had were dry. Maybe like 6 to 7, 6 out of 10 were dry. One had a tiny little bit of downpour, didn't cause any issues. You stayed on the dries, didn't really lose grip at all. Now, one or two though had quite a significant amount of rain. Maybe the odd one had a really heavy downpour. Now, not everyone experienced these heavy downpours. You obviously had to play the game quite a lot to experience it. But obviously, with this week being the best week I've ever done, I did over 50 hours of live streams on this combination because I was loving this race. So we absolutely hammered this race, and we got some very wet conditions. I have to say, we're not going to show you all the conditions we had, because we had races where it was possibly even heavier than what you're going to see in this video. We've got 3 different races to show you here, and we've got 3 different types of races to show you. Now, I am going to make a separate video from the dry races we had, because even when it was dry, this race was brilliant. We had some great battles with Mikao Azal, Gallo. We had some well-tour drivers racing this. It was so stacked for racing. It was absolutely brilliant. But you can see on screen at the moment we've got a little bit of rain there on the telemetry. Now, that is not going to cause any issue in this rain. It's just not even, you can see on the telemetry there, it's half bar, that you're still going to have plenty of grip in the braking zone. You don't really need to take any sort of caution when it's like that. It might just give you a little tiny drop of understeer as you get on the power, but in general, soft tyres will just keep going without any issue in these conditions. And you can see we're pushing like it is completely dry, because basically it is. Now, we're going to skip ahead a little bit further on lap 1, and we've got a car there. Bit of an issue there. It looks like the Ferrari into the wall. That's one position out, and we're up to P9, and it looks like Sparks might have had a bit of contact with that driver. 4-second penalty for Sparks. So we're going to go up the inside, make that move, and up into P8. Now, Calster obviously manages to get a better exit from the corner, because we took a bit of a dodgy line through there, and takes the position back off us, and we are back down to P9. Now, looking at the track map, everything looks quite okay at that point. However, we skip to the end of the straight on lap 2, and we can see a big band of weather coming in. You can see it on the left hand side of the radar. It's coming in ever so slowly at the moment. Now, at the moment, it looks like it's mainly dry. You can see a little bit of light rain in it, nothing too severe. However, that is going to change, trust me, when we get a little bit further in the race. So you can see we're getting past Calster now. Sorry, no, my name is Jared. We're going past that Ferrari. Calster's up ahead in P5 there. We're going to bump draft the Veyron in front of us. The Veyron incredibly quick at this combination for the straights. Not so quick in the wet weather, and also not so quick when it was through the fast corners. The Viper, in my opinion, was a nicer experienced car, and also the Viper felt very good in wet conditions. It felt really good in like slightly drying conditions when the track was still a little bit wet, but there was a little bit of grip there. That's when the Viper felt very, very strong. But you can see we're up to P8. We've got a lot of cars in front of us, 1.8 seconds off the lead at the moment, and we're starting to get into that weather now. You can see the radar. It's saying light rain. Again, this isn't going to cause anything on the track. You can see it coming in. We're inside that radar with the weather, and you can see the telemetry. There's no dampness on the track at all at the moment. Nothing showing up, because this doesn't actually do anything to the track surface. It's staying completely dry. You have to go a shade darker before you'll notice any sort of weather in the track. As you can see now, we've started to go into a slight shade darker there, and it's actually showing up on the track now. And you can see we are going to get some heavy rain. We've got green rain on the screen. This is going to get a little bit spicy as that rain comes down, and it's going to get very, very interesting, because everyone in this race is on the soft tyre. Nobody is on the intermediates, so this is going to be extremely interesting as this rain comes down, and you're going to witness some absolute chaos in this race. And when I mean chaos on a level that you've probably not seen on Gran Turismo with top level drivers for a very, very long time. We've got Consta in the race in this one. We've got Mikao Azal in this race. We've got Calster in this race on the controller, one of the fastest controller users. as we see the weather starting to cause issues straight away. We brake early and still don't make it into the gravel. Cars going off. We drop a few positions, but we gain a few positions at the same time, and we're into P7. We've decided to put TC onto level 1 because this rain is coming down quite quickly. You saw it on the weather radar. It was green. You can see I've put the TC on at the moment. Really, we should have had that weather radar on. You can see back into the weather radar. You can see there is a lot of rain to still come down in this race, and it's going to cause absolute mayhem. You can see it there. Chaos is looming in the not too distant future. So going through this corner, you can see I decided to put TC up to level 2 to play ultra safe here. Normally I wouldn't use it, but I wasn't sure how bad it was going to get. We can see cars going off in front of us, everyone going off into the barrier in front of us. We just about make it into this corner. Now look into the distance, Baptiste Beauvoir, so a World Tour driver there going straight off into the barrier. Absolute chaos. Mikhail's out behind us now. You can see penalties up ahead. We've just about managed to keep this on the track. We're using 2 TC just to help with the throttle as we're coming out of this corner. Now this is where it can actually benefit you using that, because it might be a little bit more consistent to use traction control in these conditions when you're on the wrong tyre. You can see we've definitely got a bit more speed than Rivs. Rivs obviously had the penalty. We're going to try and go around the outside. This is so risky because the outside of the track in general is even wetter than the racing line. It's chaos on the outside of the track. Now we're going to have to brake extremely early. You can see, look how early we've lifted, slowly trying to reduce the speed. So what we're doing is we're using the gear shifts and putting like 40-50% braking input in to try and slow it down. But that wasn't enough. Everyone's off, Concer's off, I'm off. We're aquaplaning into the wall, and you can just see there is no grip at all on this track at the moment. But somehow we are up to P2 by basically ricocheting off walls. You can see Concer, there's just no grip at all for him there. Calcer now on the inside, he's going to go up the inside after hitting the barrier also. And now you can see his car moving around as he's trying to put the power down. We're going to try and go around the outside of Calcer while we've got damage. And you can see as we come through this left-hand corner, we can see that Conster and Max Power are just going to both lose complete grip. They're just going to aquaplane off the track. You can see there's no grip over there. Conster onto the grass, into the barrier. And this is where I thought we're going to go in for a pit stop, because this might be worth an intermediate and try and gain on people. So we're going to go into the pits, and as we go into the pits, it starts aquaplaning. Mikhail Zhao doing the same thing, trying to go in the pits, completely aquaplanes into the barrier, and now we're facing the wrong way, and we can't handbrake it because the handbrake is disabled in sport mode, so we have to go reverse into the pit lane. So we blocked Concer there by accident, and we're going to go for a reverse pit lane entry. Look in the bottom right hand corner. This is hilarious. I have to say, this was one of the funniest things I've ever had, and we got reset to track. We went for it. We knew that it might not work. I kind of predicted it might reset me, but it's the only option I had, and we got reset back to track. Now what I didn't know when this happened was, on the replay our car was in the pit lane, however on the track we're here, and what basically had happened, we had caused a glitch by doing this, where I was not visible to anyone else on the track. They could see me, I think, on the top left hand corner on the names. They knew I was there, but my car was not visible. So you can see here, as we see here, Max Power seems to let me through, but then just turns and it spins us. And I was thinking, what is going on? Was that on purpose or was it by accident? And it's purely by accident. Obviously when we're live, we didn't know that they couldn't see us, so we're laughing, everyone's going crazy. It was the funniest moment I think we've had in a very, very long time during this race. And you can see now we've got a massive gap, but we've got cars not too far ahead of us. We're down to P10. Conster's not too far behind us on intermediate tyres now, but it's drying out. So the track is starting to dry out. So the intermediates might not have been the best choice. However, we did hold Conster up a bit in the pit lane entrance, so possibly would have been a little bit further ahead of us. But as we come through this right hand corner, we see cars going off still. The track conditions are still catching people out, so we're up into P9 now, and yeah, still chaos to be had, but the track is going to get gradually better now. So this is what I was saying, the track could definitely get some proper rain on this race. Some people didn't experience this level of rain, luckily we did. As we get into the braking zone, you can see really wet into that corner, and yeah, we lose a few more positions as everyone seemed to go off on that corner, completely off the track. And now we see down to P12 in this race, and we're going to try and go past these cars. Now this gives me a little inkling as we go through here. You can see that Concer squeezes us over a little bit there, but he obviously doesn't know I'm there, and that was scary, obviously going to the edge of the track with these tyres. And you can see that obviously Mohammed as well, I don't think, obviously they had no idea where I was on the track. Now this was very clever by Concer. I think at this stage he realised that I was invisible, and he gave me space. He obviously went down the inside, and it's almost like he knew we were there, even though he couldn't see us. So he obviously used the racing line as a guide, managed to get himself ahead. Very clever driving by Consta, considering our car was completely invisible. No one could see us, and yeah, Consta did a good job there to go down the inside. So you can see a group of cars in front of us at this stage. Considering the chaos that we've had in this race and the loss of time that we've had, we're only 15 seconds behind Lightning in the lead, and we're not that far off the cars in front of us. If you have a little look in front of us, we've got a massive train of cars that we're actually really, really close to. We're not far off a podium position. So the race is still worth carrying on and seeing what happens and seeing if anything else crazy goes on. So over the line for the final time now, one more lap to go, and we're actually on the right tyres now. That's the only good thing. We've got Consta up ahead, who's obviously on the wrong tyres because he pitted for intermediate. So technically we should be able to catch him up. The only thing we've got to be careful of is the edge of the track on the curbs. There won't be much grip there. You can see it's catching out a few people in this race as we're going to go down the right hand side. Now this again, you're going to see as we go through here, we managed to get ahead of both of them drivers and we're up into P10. But watch Rami behind us. It's pretty clear that he doesn't know that I'm on the track in front of him, because look how close he's bumping us in the rear, in the middle of the corner. He doesn't know we're here. Now at this stage I'm thinking, Rami, calm down, calm down. Like I was not aware at this stage that drivers couldn't see me, so I'm shouting out, Rami, Rami, just calm down. And yeah, it's just absolute madness going on. But now we know, don't reverse into the pit lane, because when you do reverse into the pit lane, it seems to cause a bug in the race where you're not visible for anyone else. So remember that in the future, if you're watching this video, never ever reverse in a pit lane. Obviously you wouldn't do it anyway, but in that situation we had no handbrake, and it was either do that or drive back out the pit lane and get reset anyway. So yeah, it was worth a try. But you can see down the straight now, we're picking up the slipstream, and you'll notice when we bump draft Rami in a minute, nothing happens to his car. It doesn't gain any speed. It's almost like we just hit it and hit a brick wall. So that's how you can tell about the invisibility, like how invisible we are as well. Because watch, we hit him, nothing happens. It's just like a rock solid. We just stop dead behind him. We're not gaining any speed. He's not gaining any speed, and that shows you that my car is completely invisible. So we're going to go to the right now. Now I wasn't aware that we were invisible. I thought Rami was on auto drive. As you can see, we're getting pushed to the right at this stage. Rami's pushing us to the right because he doesn't know I'm there. And as we come through here, I'm shouting out, Rami, no! And we end up getting completely spun round because no one else knew we were there on that inside. So yeah, we lost a massive amount of time on the final lap there, and absolute craziness going on. And yeah, down to P12. But it's one of them. No one knew we were there, so no one was to blame. But in the moment, we were obviously shouting out, why? Absolute madness in this daily race. And this is what I say though, although that was caused by the invisible, but the start of the race, just the dynamic weather, the element of that it adds to these races is just unmatched. As we go around the outside of Baptist there, and again, he obviously doesn't know we're there, nearly nudges me into the wet part of the track, so up into P10. So a lot of people having a crazy race in this one, and this race is not going to probably give us the best result we've ever had in one of these races, but it does highlight what craziness, and if you can get a strategy correct, you know, it can work out for you. I do think that if we would have got in the pits on them Inters without any issue, we might have got ourselves up towards the front, but I do think the soft tyres would have caught up at the end of the track, at the end of the lap. And it does highlight one issue that I have with the wet weather, is I think the track dries out a little bit too quick. Now, it could be to do with multipliers that they set in these races and stuff like that. Maybe we need to test that out with some lobbies to see if we set the multipliers really low, how quick the track dries out like that. That might be interesting to test out, to see if it takes a little bit longer to dry out, because it could be down to time multipliers and stuff like that. As we go over the line, we managed to just creep a position on the finishing line and put ourselves just about up into P9. So one position gain there, so into the top 10. And yeah, absolute madness race. Now we had another race, and you can see it in this one, it's intermediate conditions. Everyone, I think the majority of this grid now are starting on inters. You can see the rain was there straight away in the race, and it's already pretty much in the intermediates on the telemetry. So this race again is going to be interesting on the first few laps, just trying to make sure that we feel the grip, see where the grip is, don't be over aggressive on the start, because there might even have been some people on the soft tyres, because some people were obviously risking these races on the soft tyres. And you're going to see as we come through here, the blue Viper on the left there, I think he gets a little bit out of control going through this right hand corner. He runs wide, a bit of understeer onto the curb, and he's going to go bowling straight into ribs. Ouch for ribs there, and takes him out completely. So yeah, upper position, up into P6 for us. And then up on the inside here, we've got the Ferrari on the left, who takes this corner really slow. He obviously sees trying to let Josetti through, so I decided to cut that corner, take the penalty, because otherwise we were hitting him and probably losing so much time. So half-second penalty there was worth taking. And now it's time to get back into the bump drafting on the straight in this condition. You can see actually on the radar there, on the telemetry, the rain was actually getting very, very close to the full wet conditions. And you're going to witness on the straight what can happen when the weather gets up to that bar and you're on intermediate tyres. And it's also going to show you why the Veyron in these conditions wasn't always the best car. For some reason, obviously with the four-wheel drive, made it very, very easy for the car to aquaplane. So you can see as we're going down straight here, we've got an aquaplaning Veyron in the wall on the right. And then if you look again, a little bit further up, we've got another one into the wall on the right, another Veyron, and then again, another Veyron into the barrier. So all the Veyrons aquaplaning on that straight. Could have been the power of the car on the top end. So I decided to give it a little lift through this right-hand corner because it's obviously getting very, very wet on the track. So as you come through here, just making sure we don't take too much speed. You can see I'm lifting off the throttle just to make sure that we're not going too aggressive through that little kink in the straight, because I've seen throughout the week of racing there when it was wet, a lot of drivers going completely straight on an aquaplaning. So yeah, again, into this braking zone, making sure we brake nice and early. You can see braking early. These two drivers on the right don't brake early. They're going way too aggressive. The Veyron's out of control. Now I stay to the left here and just make sure that I avoid the Veyron. However, because we go to the left and avoid him and run wide, we actually pick up a track limit penalty, which again was a bit harsh, I think, because we're trying to give space, making sure that, you know, that car that was out of control doesn't go into the side of our car, and we pick up half a second penalty. But that isn't the worst one we got. We definitely got a worse one a little bit further on in this lap. So as you're going down the straight, we're in the slipstream to Gallo now, and the rain is still coming down very, very heavy. You can see we've got green rain on the radar. That's going to cause absolute mayhem. So into this corner, lift again, nice and early. Make sure we don't go too aggressive. Now look in the mirror there. We get a massive whack from the Jaguar. He pushes us off the track, over the track limits. And because of getting pushed, we get another track limit penalty. That was a little bit frustrating, but absolute chaos going on behind us there, where people are missing their braking. And again, we're going to take it nice and easy into this braking zone. Gallo there, getting the line right. We get the line right. And now we're behind the Veyron. Can we drag past this Veyron? No, we can't, because we got a 1.5 second penalty. 1 second of that, I think, was a little bit harsh. The 0.5 was definitely fair for the first one because we cut the corner to avoid the collision. But the other 1 second, I think PD, you know, if you're getting pushed out of the track limits by another car, I don't think you should be getting a penalty for it. It should be just letting you off with that, because, you know, there's not much you can do about it if a car completely rear ends your car and pushes you off. But you can see chaos again in this race. Obviously now people are on the intermediates. Before they were on the soft tyres, so the grip is a little bit better. We can actually deal with this level of rain, and we're still in P6 in this race, behind the Veyron there in front of us, and behind the Viper and Ferrari just ahead of that. We've obviously got Gallo in the lead in the NSX, which in these conditions was probably very, very decent through the fast corners, but a little bit probably a little bit sketchy in the acceleration zones. Damien in front of us, another controller user, very, very fast controller user there. And we're going to try and go down the left-hand side of him. Are we going to go for it, or are we going to back out? We go for it, up the inside, put ourselves up into P5 as Burrs goes a little bit deep. We just about avoid hitting Burrs there. However, we're probably going to get a penalty because we did go over the curb. And yeah, take another half-second penalty. Again, that one was probably okay because we did go over the track limits. Although, yeah, it was very, very close on that one. Wasn't deliberate, obviously, just down to grip. So skipping a little bit further on in the lap now, on lap 2, we're in the slipstream to the lead group. We're going to brake nice and early again into this braking zone, and again, a little bit of contact at the front. We're taking it easy as the Veyron on the left there. We're going to try and get on the power, and all of us managed to get through that nice and cleanly. Good driving between this group of cars, no contact, pretty clean, and we're staying in P4. However, we have got that half-second penalty to get to take, which is going to cost us again in this race and drop us out of this slipstream possibly. But again, the weather adding another visual element to the game. I have to say, game looks absolutely amazing when you've got this wet weather, the spray, especially when the sun starts coming out and you've got the wet track and you've got the reflections. It really does come into its own visually again. So yeah, I cannot wait to try this type of race out in VR when VR2 comes out, which I have pre-ordered, so make sure you subscribe if you want any content with regards to VR2. I will be putting out videos. and stuff like that on the channel, so make sure you get subscribed because it could be interesting. I'm really excited for VR2. I think it's going to be an amazing experience on Gran Turismo 7. So again, taking this penalty, this is going to drop us down and out of the slipstream to the cars and the group ahead of us. But you can see there, we're going to lose a few more positions with this as we drop down to P6, just behind Josetti there in the Ferrari, who's obviously lost a few positions after the start. Something's obviously happened to him on when it got really wet there. So again, you need to try and find a way to get back up ahead of these cars and to the lead group really, so we don't lose the slipstream because the track is drying out. Now, it might have been worth going in the pits here to put on soft tyres, but it would have been very risky to keep it on the dry line. You can see we're only just about on the telemetry line for dry tyres, but the dry soft tyres would have worked. It would just be a case of not making mistakes and keeping it on the dry line. So if you went offline, that would be it. You'd be spinning. So you can see one car is going to go for the risky strategy in the Veyron and pit and try and do the soft tyres. Now that was very risky, especially going into the pit lane at that speed, and it wouldn't surprise me if he went straight on into the wall at the end, because the pit lane entry was obviously going to be very, very, very wet. So yeah, you had to be a little bit cautious possibly, but he did have intermediate tyres on, so he might have made that work actually, just about slowing it down. But you can see we're now down to P5. We've got a bit of a gap to Josetti, and we've actually lost the slipstream. So Damien is going to give us a bump draft a little bit further on this lap, on lap 3, to try and boost us up. And we're going to try and go as fast as we can through this corner with the intermediates. Its track is completely dry now, so the soft tyres, if you really push them, might have been able to catch up a little bit, but the pace is going to pick up on these intermediates now as well, because obviously the track is drying out, so you can start pushing it through the corners. And you can see we're just about in the slipstream to P4. Now, we're gaining a little bit through here. Let's have a little look as we go into this right-hand corner. He's obviously got a brake early because he's got a car in front of him, sorry. So that means he has to be on the brakes a fraction earlier, and we've got right back into the slipstream now. So, again, not too far off the lead battle. We've got Josetti in the lead. We're 1.8 seconds away from the lead of this race. So, actually working out okay at this point. Not going bad at all, considering the chaos at the start with the rain and stuff and the penalties. We've had, I think, 2 seconds worth of penalties, and we're still in P5 in this race with a chance of staying in the top group. You see Damien behind us there, 7 tenths behind us, but he's going to catch up through the corners now. As we come into these fast corners, we're going to have to brake a little bit early because we've obviously got cars in front of us. And you can see Bray goes a little bit wide there, out of shape slightly, but catches it back for the second part of the corner. And now we're going to try and see if we can get a run on that Jaguar. The Viper, obviously a slightly better car, I would say, for this track than the Jaguar in terms of the handling through the corners, and we get a much better line into that left-hand corner. We get a much better exit, and we get into the 4th gear nice and early, picking up the slipstream. Can we go for a move in this corner? We've got a nice run on him. We're going to go to the left-hand side of the track. Now, this is all about, can we figure a point to brake on? And we brake early, what I think is early. Bray brakes probably what he thinks would make it and completely misses the corner, gets reset to track. We're going to pick up another half a second penalty there, but Bray completely reset to track where he completely misses the braking and goes straight on. So that shows you the difference. On intermediate tyres, you just got to brake a little bit earlier. I thought I braked early, but even then we only just made the corner. So we're going to take another half a second penalty here. We've managed to break away from the other cars by staying in the slipstream. You can see they're 3.3 seconds ahead of Damien, but that penalty there is going to drop us out of the slipstream to P3. You can see Josetti and Gallo are obviously working together on the straight, and they're pulling away now at the lead, so we're not going to be able to catch them up. And we can see by the time we got to the final lap here on lap 5, we were just back into the slipstream to P3, because every time we got to the corners we were getting back in, but as soon as we got to the straights, that Veyron was breaking the slipstream and pulling away. So yeah, an interesting race. P4 this time. This race was a complete race on intermediate tyres. The race before, obviously, we started on the soft tyres and it was chaos, and now we've got one more race to show you. So next race is really, really interesting, because this race showed weather in the warm-up, and I was the only person in this group of drivers, a very high-ranked lobby as well, to put on the intermediate tyres. So everyone else was on the dry tyres, and it is dry at the moment, which was why they probably went for that risky strategy, hoping that it would dry out straight away. Now I went for the safe strategy. You can see Kauster straight away, much more exit speed from the corner because the soft tyres have got so much more grip. He's going to be flying. We're going to be very slow on this opening lap, and that's going to really show up in this corner here. So as we go into the left-hand corner, you see not much grip on the intermediates in dry conditions. Kauster is just going to go straight past us there, on the right hand side. Way more acceleration off the softs versus the inters. And now we've got Consta as well on the right hand side. He's probably going to go completely round the outside with the extra grip from them tyres. We're going to hold the tight line, just be careful not to knock him off. And again, as we come through here, we've got Nico in the GTR going straight past us. And this is the problem, when you're on the wrong tyre here, they're just going to go flying past us. However, the rain is kicking in. You can see the track grip is getting up to the line, which is going to mean the intermediates are going to start coming back. Now, wind is going to bump draft us behind us. He's going to obviously probably know that we're on the intermediates as well. So he's going to bump draft us knowing that the grip is going to come back to us. So it's probably a good idea just to bump us all the way down the straight. You can see that weather is going to get quite intense. We zoomed in a little bit there just to see how intense it was and what line it was going on. And then by the end of the straight, you can see here, we're coming into the braking zone. Now I know that they're going to have to brake early because this track is starting to get wet. Now I don't. I can go quite aggressive. So we go past Consta, down the inside here. We see that Nico covers the inside. However, the game ghosts their car. So I take advantage of that. Straight through the ghost cars, much more traction. Another car has spun there, so we go from P13 up to P6, and we're actually going to go past Calster here on the left-hand side now, because now we've got the benefit of the better tyre. He's going to be struggling for traction and getting the power down. We can get the power down and push on up. So we're up to P5, and now you can see that track is getting very, very wet. It's again closing in on the intermediate to wet tyre line. And this is going to be interesting. As we come through here, we've got Fusa just in front of us. Max Power brakes early. Fusa brakes early. We don't really need to brake early. Now, Fusa goes completely off the track. And then as we turn in here, we see Fusa going straight off. You can't park there, Fusa. Yeah, we're up into P3. Rivs racing right in front of us. So into a podium, we can brake later than Rivs. Much more grip on these intermediate tyres. Up into P2. And this shows you when you're on the right tyre, at the right time, it can make a huge difference, because we are flying through this field now, working our way through. The track is getting even wetter now, but it is going to start drying out. You can see there on the weather radar, this band of weather is going to disappear. However, if it stays wet for long enough, we can try and build up a bit of a gap here. So we're going to keep pushing in these wet conditions, and this is what I'm talking about with this dynamic race. You can just have different people risking different things, trying different things, and it makes a huge difference. Now, obviously, every race was not like this. Most races were dry. But when it did happen and people were on different strategies, different ways of doing the race, it just makes for much more excitement. So PD, I'm probably not listening, but if you are, please bring more dynamic weather races, because we still get the wet weather racing with them. The dry weather racing with them, because the majority were dry. But when this happens, what's on screen now, it just adds a completely different element to the game. I would love to try this next time on a slightly shorter track, a handling track, so that being on the right tyre at the exact right time will make a big difference. Because on this track, with it being so long straights, you could get away with a lot. You can see by the end of lap 2, I built my gap up to 25 seconds, nearly 26 seconds. However, the track is drying out. They are going to start catching us up at this stage. You can see as we come through here now, that gap is going to come down to 24. So we couldn't pit because pit lane loss was way over 35 seconds, I think it was. Wasn't worth pitting. We would have ended up right at the back of that train with the same tyres. So we had to stay out on these tyres and just hope that we could survive it. Now, obviously, the advantage we've got is on the edge of the track. When it comes to overtaking and stuff like that, they're going to be on the wrong tyre and they're going to lose time possibly. Now, we skip to lap 3 and we can see this weather has gone very dark. Now, we're still 19 seconds ahead, so they only gained 6 seconds on that lap, which was very interesting because that wasn't enough to catch us up at this stage. Needed to be gaining more like 9 to 10 seconds a lap to catch us up. So at this stage, as we go over the line, it's going to probably be about 16 seconds. It's almost going to be, if it stays like this, it's going to be down to the final corner with Consta and Nico. They would have been right on us on the final few corners of the race. But I obviously stayed out in the pits and was praying for rain. And with this cloud kicking in, this was making me really, really hoping that it would start raining and make sure that they couldn't catch us up, because you can see they're going to be gaining through every corner. The track is completely dry now. And as we look at the bottom of the screen on the weather radar, we can see a band of rain coming in. Now, at the moment, we didn't know what that rain was going to be like in terms of intensity. Was it going to do anything to the track? But if it just even added a little bit of water to the track, it would help out me on the intermediates. Now, luckily for me, as you can see here, by the time we skipped to lap 4, at the end of lap 4, it added quite a bit on the side. It came down at a weird angle, so we avoided most of the rain, but suddenly we got a nice bit of heavy rain that's going to definitely make the track very, very slippery for the soft runners. You can see the gap is at 12 seconds, 13 seconds. We've still got 1 and a bit laps to go, so it was going to be incredibly close because, like I say, the difference was like 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 to 9 seconds a lap between the inters and the softs, and at the moment we're 12 seconds ahead. But that rain is starting to kick in now, so we're going to start equaling out, and it's going to get very, very, very sketchy for all them cars behind me. And we've absolutely got this strategy. Very lucky, I have to say. This is the luckiest win I think I've ever had, because we just got lucky. We picked the right tyre on the first at the start. Everyone else went for the soft tyres to risk it, and now this is just going to benefit me massively, because look at that rain. It's blue, it's heavy, it's going to make the track very, very wet, and we're going to start pulling back away, and we certainly did that. By the end of the race, we managed to build up a 40-second lead, which is our biggest ever lead in a top split race with these type of drivers in there. Pure luck, but still, I'll take it. 40 seconds, the screen doesn't lie, and yeah, basically because we're on intermediate tyres, there's no other excuse for it. We just got the strategy right. No one else was on inters. I think one driver tried to put inters on, but he didn't manage to get it in on the car in time, so he had to start the race on the soft tyres. And then we finished the race, and we end up winning by 47 seconds. And that shows you right tyres at the right time, and this is why I love these races. It could make some really entertaining battles just by getting a strategy call right. But next time, let's hope PD can do it on a track maybe a little bit shorter, with more strategy options, being on the right tyre at the right time and stuff like that. It could make the race even more interesting. So yeah, if you're listening, PD, we want more of this. Bring it to us. Yeah, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with more in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.